Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unofficial Ignition Podcast. My name is Julia, and I'm here today once again with Jan Madsen, the founder and CEO of Enuda. Jan, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Julia. Cool to be here.
Cool to have you. So, we're going to talk about today the traditional mindset and view on SCADA and MES. More specifically, on their hierarchy and indeed separation from each other, as per the Purdue model. We're going to discuss if that is still necessary today when we have Ignition and we can use it as a platform. At least we're going to provide some points of view, our points of view on that. So let's dive right into that and start explaining the title of this episode, which is MES functionality versus MES software. Jan, why did we choose this topic? What triggered it?
Well, first of all, the episode should have a name, right? So we had to choose something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was indeed the first thought.
So it comes out of a conversation that you and I had a couple of weeks ago, following a call or a video call at a meeting I had with some other integrators in this industry. And we were talking about ignition, and we were talking about implementing an ignition based project with a client. And then the person on the other end of this call, he insisted on knowing exactly whether this was a SCADA project or an MES project.
Okay.
And I heard myself say, it's a bit of both. And he said, it cannot be. Is it a SCADA project or is it an MES project? And then I got slightly frustrated and said, okay, it's 60% SCADA and 40% MES. And then he said, it cannot be. So what is it? Is it SCADA or is it MES? And we had this talk around what are we talking about here? Is it SCADA software that we're implementing, or is it MES software we're implementing? And lo and behold, I said, hey, it's both, and it's the same platform. So in that conversation, I just realized that we come from two different worlds. We have two different mindsets. There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with either of them. It's just two different ways of thinking. And jumping out of that call, I remember sending you a message saying, hey, I have something interesting, an interesting observation about the world to share. Hence the title of this episode.
Okay. So why do you think that is that we have different views on this?
I do think that one of my absolute strongest assets in founding and running this business is that I'm ignorant to the history of automation. I don't know anything about automation. So I don't come out of the world of this is how to do things according to the Purdue model or whatever it might be. And if you think about it, if you are used to working with the Purdue model, or you're used to working with what is also called the automation stack, I know we're coming back to that a bit later, then you have a certain understanding of how these things are put together, and you put things on top of each other, and you are used to a world where okay, so we build SCADA, that's done in one piece of software, or you build an MES solution, it's done in another piece of software. And so what I hear, or what was also the takeaway from that specific call is that, and by the way, the guy on the other end of that call, he was a very experienced, very experienced professional, an automation professional. They are used to thinking many of them are used to thinking in SCADA and MES as separate things with separate pieces of software to support what you're doing. Whereas We talk more in functionality, the SCADA functionality that you need from which is something you built upon specific business needs that you could put on the SCADA side, and specific business needs that relates to MES functionality.
Right.
But we built all of it on the same piece of software, Ignition, as a platform.
Okay.
So I think that's what I got out of that conversation. It was a cool conversation, by the way, I had with him, but we just realized we came from two very different worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you just started the conversation about our own philosophy on this, and I would love to hear more about that. Can you explain your point of view?
Yeah. So first of all, we call it or you call it our own. It's not something we invented. It's a way of thinking now that is also gaining a lot of momentum, and it's becoming very popular. And we've decided to call it the new way. Some call it Industry 4.0, and you can call it all kinds of things. But essentially, the difference is that there are people thinking still historically. This industry comes out of a world where you were thinking in hierarchy. Things were stacked on top of each other. Hence, it was also called the automation stack. So you had the PLCs or whatever at the bottom, and then you had a SCADA system on top of that, and then you had MES on top of that, and you could connect things to your ERP system or whatever on top of that. So no wonder that people think in different software solutions for each layer, and from an engineering point of view, it also makes sense. How do you connect these layers, and how do you connect that layer to that layer, and what is the interaction between the layers, and so on and so forth. Versus a different mindset or a completely different way of thinking in this that we call the platform model, where we say, so I got actually the question yesterday, what is Ignition? Is it a SCADA software? And yes, it is, but it's so much more. So Ignition is a platform. It's a software platform. It's a development platform, and we use it for multiple things. You can say, first and foremost, we use it to connect things. So we connect PLCs or edge devices or machines directly. So whatever it is, we use it as connection, and we connect to databases, multiple databases, and we connect to other systems, whatever that might be. And then we also use Ignition to build what I prefer to call SCADA functionality. So it's not a SCADA software. We just built SCADA functionality on the Ignition platform, and that is smart and clever because we use Ignition to connect everything. So we have all the data. You have all your connections. You have all your data in real time, and you can store them historically. So let's build SCADA functionality upon that, and we have all the usual modules in Ignition out of the box to use for that purpose.
Right.
And we can also then build MES functionality, and here that's the new way of thinking, where traditionally or historically in the automation realm, you would build your SCADA functionality first, and then upon that you would then have another piece of software where you would have your MES layer and your MES functionality. So you would have to build your SCADA first, and then you would do your MES.
Right.
That's not how we think it. We say, so what do you need? You need to get connected first. When you're connected, then we can build some SCADA functionality if you need, for example, alarming, which is a big thing, and typically, usually something we do as one of the first things. Maybe some supervision, store some historical data, and then before you have expanded the full SCADA functionality, then say, oh, we need some OEE now. Okay, so let's do some OEE dashboards. and we need some TAED, whatever it might be, and then we build a dashboard for that. So now we have a wonderful mix of some SCADA functionality and some MES functionality, but you don't have different software solutions for that. It's all built on the Ignition platform.
Right.
And to make matters even more confusing, maybe, I think it's wonderful, but maybe even more confusing for some, we could build it in the dashboard component if we wanted to, which is
Okay.
a customizable component in Ignition, where we put widgets. So it would be very similar to dealing with your smartphone, where you think about it as actually, that's a cool analogy, come to think of it, that you don't have one phone for SCADA and another one for whatever. Yeah, it's a platform, and then you add apps to your liking.
Right.
Yeah, and so in the same dashboard component, similar to using your iPhone here, you would have your alarming, and you would have MES functionality in the form of OE, all in the same dashboard, if you like. So
Yeah.
it's a very different way of thinking. Instead of saying, "Oh, here I have my SCADA software, and here I have my MES software." No, here I have my dashboard where I have the functionality from that I need, and you could call that SCADA functionality and MES functionality. I don't really care. It's what I need. It's based on business needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we don't go to a client and ask, okay, do you want SCADA or do you want MES? We listen to the business needs, the business requirements. Then we use Ignition as a platform to connect things, to get data from different sources to one place. And then we identify the SCADA or MES functionality that fits the business needs, and we just pick the data from the platform, the
Yeah.
data that we already have.
And if you do insist on branding them as SCADA or MES functionality, then we'll probably use different font colors or whatever, whatever you want to do. Put them in different boxes. Hence my answer to this gentleman a couple of weeks ago, where I said, it's probably 60% SCADA and 40% MES. I don't see the need for, and I don't hear from our clients that the need for being very strict on this is SCADA and this is MES. I think the easy way to understand is you have some specific business needs to
Mhm.
support your daily business, and when you have everything connected to one platform, then you build solutions that facilitate or support those business needs.
Yeah. All right. So we love practical stories around
Mhm.
here. So let's dive into one or two of those to illustrate this point, to illustrate this idea of the platform. Can you share one or two client stories?
Yeah, for sure I can, but due to the non-disclosure agreements, we simply cannot talk about the specific clients, but we can share stories from those clients. So I I can think of two both of them follow this logic, and the first one I'm going to mention here, they are not even aware of this logic, but they do follow it. So they are not aware of the they had in the early days when we started with them, they had a look into what they thought of as MES software, but they left that idea again, and then they doubled down on building something in Ignition.
Right.
So if we look at that client, it has been and it is, we're still working with them, a super good example of this logic that I advocate here. Get things connected. They have, over the past year or so, gotten even more machines and lines connected to Ignition. Recently, they are now moving out of just one factory site, so they are looking at multiple sites. It's a The architecture is a classic IIoT architecture built on MQTT with multiple sites and headquarter and all of that. And they have a very skilled and a very professional team now that have learned that we now have machines connected. Then they built supervision functionality. When a machine or a line is connected, they build supervision on and alarming functionality, which is that is classic SCADA. That's SCADA 101.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, they built both some OEE functionality. We work with TAED. And they don't really, and it's all in perspective, it's all in the dashboard component. They don't really see it as this is SCADA, this is MES. It's all use case driven for them. Their thinking is get more things connected to the platform. Recently, we connected their ERP system, so they are now picking up information from the ERP system, using for different things, and then sending data back. So for them, it's all about business requirements popping up from the organization all the time. And they will look around, do we have the necessary data connected to the platform? No, we don't. Okay, then how do we get that done as fast as possible? And then they built we helped them building the necessary solution and adding that to the Ignition solution they have already up and running. So it's a wonderful mix of connectivity, SCADA, and platform, and it's like a cycle just reiterating itself. Hey, we need to get more connected so that we can do this and that. And they have stopped calling it SCADA or MES. It's just we need to get this into Ignition as fast as possible.
Yeah. Nobody cares about the concept, the abbreviations.
No, not really. The other example we can say is they have a slightly different approach, because they approach the connectivity phase in a more systematic way, if I may say it like so. So they are they're very focused on let's get this side connected, then this side connected, and this side connected, and they are also more focused on having a repository, if we may call it that, of standard solutions that we have developed together with them, where they say it doesn't matter whether we call it SCADA or MES, but they have a standard repository where they say, okay, so let's get this side connected, then we can pick and choose from the repository and implement this when it's connected. Then we move on to the next site and we get it connected. Then we choose what makes sense in this specific context at that site. But they are more systematic in how they approach the connectivity, and also this idea of having a toolbox, a repository of standard. Again, going back to the smartphone analogy here, standard apps or widgets that you think about it like that you can choose. But again, they don't see it or talk about as this is SCADA, this is MES. No, it's more about, okay, let's get this connected, and then developing the repository, the toolbox of things that would support or will support the daily operations out there on multiple sites. So that's how they see it. So I do think we will be listening to the SCADA MES debate or debacle discussion for years to come. But I also think it's turning into a gray zone.
Yeah.
And
the lines are getting blurred.
yeah, the lines are getting blurred, and it's our experience at least that it's, and I do think these two client cases here, they are testament to the fact that nobody thinks in, now we will implement a SCADA and now we will implement an MES solution. They think more in, these are the business requirements that are needed, that are required, or that we need to fix right away to help operations
Yeah,
improve their daily business. Which is the entire, that's the whole idea behind digital transformation, right? To
exactly.
change some behavior in your, otherwise it makes no sense.
Yeah. You know what? I think that is a fantastic point to end on. I would say that we probably reached the end of this episode, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think we covered what we wanted to cover here.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was interesting. It was even fun, but most of all, it was insightful. At least that is my opinion. You guys, let us know what you think. If you have any questions, we are here to answer. Jan, thank you so much again for joining me,
Thank you for having me.
and see you next time.
See ya.